Welcome, everyone, to another installment of Waku Vibe Coding. Live on stream. Waku, of course, is a peer-to-peer messaging communications protocol designed for at-scale implementation in crypto apps. We have been doing these Waku Vibe Coding sessions rather regularly over the past few weeks, and thank you to everyone who has been tuning in. We have seen the numbers going up and some growth happening. If you are watching on X or on YouTube, please like and subscribe and share. And most importantly, if you have any questions or feedback, let us know in the chat. We can see it. Over the past few weeks, there have been a number of things built. I'm currently in the middle of a 3-part saga with Waku research engineer SP as he rips out the IPFS pub/sub module and replaces it with Waku in a video archive project he's been working on. Waku lead Frog has been finding synergy between Waku and Stellar, as well as working on a 4chan clone, which I believe will be the focus today. But without further ado, I would like to introduce JS Waku team member Arseni. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hello. I am excellent. I am excited to dig into one of the aforementioned vibe coding projects today and see how we can use LLMs to understand it, harkening back to one of the principles I explored in a previous session, which is taking the motto of measure twice, cut once, and applying it to quote unquote vibe coding, which, by the way, as a term I absolutely hate, but it has mimetic value and it is useful. it's pragmatic. I've been
That's a strong
warming
opinion.
up here as you were introducing the show. Sometimes it's fun to just, play, like, really play around with these things, like, not even try to get a specific task done, but just to use it like a way to explore language and your own thinking. And I guess we got like some, let's see the mottos. Let's do a quick run through of these mottos that we've come up with. Do to learn, think by testing. Interesting. Build to connect, verify at the edge. Kind of like E2E tests. Okay. Hypothesize, build, observe, revise, discover peers, handshake, monitor, adapt around.
For the benefit of myself and maybe at least one other person in the audience. So you have asked here, take each of these principles and create an analogous principle related to the architectural benefits of P2P. And the principles that you fed in were
Oh, I didn't feed in any. I just this started with, I said write a welcome message, just, and I thought of a random person, relatively in relatively uncontroversial thinker, John Dewey. And then it just kind of like we're talking back and forth, and then we're told it, okay, take it and then rephrase it to focus about learning by doing, which is kind of like part of his pragmatism, I guess, and how it's segmented via LLMs. I didn't even read what he wrote. Like I said, I was warming up. I was mostly getting my prompting fingers working. Then I said make it concise, almost like it's a sequence of mottos and aphorisms. And then I say take each one and then create an analogous principle related to the architectural benefits of P2P decentralized and encrypted communication. So I didn't really give it much context as all, because as we all know, these terms can be rather vague
one
sometimes. But
one thing I want to mention off the top, and speaking for myself, and you're not a braggadocious fella, so I will do it for you in that in my own exposure to people working with at the cutting edge, as it seems to me, at least the cutting edge I'm exposed to of working with LLMs, Arseni is quite gifted at understanding how to provide context and work with LLMs, I think, far beyond anyone else in terms of content and usefulness that I am able to pick up as a far less elite user. And so I will jump in with questions as things become vague for me. And again, in the audience, if you have any queries, submit them. All right, Arseni. I forgive my cutting you off.
oh, you're good. You're good. It's okay. I mean, you did uh, prop me up, so I was about to say, you better watch what you say. You started off well, but I was listening. I was listening like a hawk. I guess I don't know if hawks listen.
You
Anyways, I
live
was
in a
looking.
glass house.
Yeah,
Better watch your mouth. I
yeah,
got a glass jaw. I'll break
yeah.
your teeth.
We're really about transparency here, even to each other. Out of all of the stuff it generated, I think this is the best. One, two, three, four, five words and a one comma. That's probably the best out of all of this thing that it generated. LLMs are instruments, not oracles. And what a great way to start our session. Anyway, so I'm going to close all that because it's, like I said, just the warm up, just get the quote unquote juices flowing. So, what do I already know about this project? This uses Waku. It uses, actually, here, uh, even though I already know quite a bit because I tuned into part of the stream and I looked at the code before, I want to go through the process of becoming familiar with this code base from zero as if I'm helping the agent learn the code base, which, and it's not necessarily the same thing as the agent helping me, because this GPT-5, it's not an oracle, it's an instrument, and you can't let the instrument play you, you gotta play the instrument. Eat your heart out, Rick Rubin. Let's begin to develop an understanding. Okay, it's way too much. Let's make it even more concise. Generate a single Zettelkasten style markdown document that explores the high level architecture of this project. Focus on the integration points between the interface. I guess it's all in index HTML. Interesting. User
Frank
interface
really likes single index HTML files because they're easy to serve.
makes sense, and it might make sense for like a vibe coding approach as well. User interface to the Waku network, and if exposed p2p3 WebTorrent, because it's using WebTorrent for image for uploading images. The images are not stored over Waku. You can technically use Waku to store images, but that would not be very nice to it. It doesn't mean we could stop you from doing so. Yeah, so I gave it a little bit. I gave it 3 kind of high-level goalposts to make sure that the exploration is still an exploration, but constrained to the structure that makes sense. And from a high level, I mean, this is like the core of the application, which is pretty neat that it's only 3 real components at a high level. Anyways, let's see what it does. So if you've tuned into one of my streams before, actually I haven't used the Zettelkasten style qualifier yet, so I really like it, not because I'm a fan of the Zettelkasten note-taking method, which, if you're not familiar, is it's the note-taking method that arguably inspired Rome research and Obsidian and all of those other kinds of knowledge base style applications, but it was originally just made with note cards. I like it because I can say Zettelkasten style and it conveys like a non-trivial structure to the LLM in 2 words. I don't have to even tell it to like look it up, because this is even before Roman Obsidian, like there's a lot of documents and documentation and records that I'm sure it was trained on about this note-taking style. And so what this does is it forces a structure onto the output. So Zettelkasten is flexible enough in that it's not a programming language or a markdown language even. It's just a conceptual kind of structure for notes. But it's still enough of a structure that you can effectively constrain the LLM. And it's like you're forcing it not to just scan a document, but scan a document and like reprocess it into a different kind of document that's structured but contextualized. And oftentimes, you don't even need to read this document. The other benefit of this document is that now you have like a concise way to, reuse knowledge across LLM sessions, or, send that document to a different developer, a different team member, and then that team member can use it with whatever setup they prefer. So now I'm going to ask it to write it to I'm going to say I'll do knowledge base MD. I see that there's an agents that probably has instructions for agents, but this is slightly separate because it's not instructions on how an agent should do something. It's more of an instruction. It's more of a knowledge base. It's like it's not a vector database. Obviously, it's kind of like an impromptu version, you could say, but I find it useful for you could say like swapping contexts with either within an LLM session or across different LLMs and different LLM sessions. And so while it's writing that, I'll think of the next prompt. And the next prompt is to probably, I want some kind of chart. Use the knowledge base to, all right, we'll put it this way. As you go through the existing code in index.html, refer to and update the knowledge base. Once it saves it, we'll add it as context there. Refer to and update the knowledge base doc and create a separate mermaid chart. Mermaid, is, for those who don't know, is a language for charts. It's not a type of chart, nor is it a chart of a mermaid. It'll be a different kind of stream. Create a separate mermaid chart of representing the flow of data types between the three main components: UI, Waku, WebTort. Note that I do not want a flow of data, but of data types and how they are transformed as data. Moves from one function to another. This does not necessarily have to correspond one-to-one with any of the types used in the code, but it needs to be coherent, consistent, and coherent. Okay. Oh, goody, it finished. And I finished as well. We'll keep this note, and then we'll add it as context. We'll switch to this index. I'll take a quick look at agents. Okay, I'll throw agents and context as well. And I'll tell it refer to H instead of D for understanding how to work with the repo. And then, yeah, index is the active tab, so it's already in the context. That's what this thing means. All right, and yeah, no. So I got pretty explicit about what I wanted, and I definitely wanted a flow of the data types, not just the data, because I'm more interested in kind of, I guess, like a functional programming perspective, you could say, though that's not quite what it is. By the way, there's a lot of very smart people who would consider all of this just absolute blasphemy.
Why is that?
A lot, I don't know. A lot of programmers are just kind of what's the PG word? A lot of developers are very opinionated. Um, Not just developers, but like technical fields in general. And some of them like to make those opinions a part of their identity. And then when you do that, you kind of stop having conversations that are for the purpose of, improving protocols or furthering knowledge, and more about like defending and staking out territory, which an identity is, in some way. These are the kind of things you
Okay.
can. These are the kind of things you get to think about when you're vibe coding and you're waiting for to get a response here.
We do have Augusto in the chat, and Augusto says, I don't use X, so here I am on YouTube. Glad to see the progress. I'm on my Linux now. Augusto, we're thrilled to have you with us, and let us know if you're following along, or perhaps spinning up an NWaku node via NWaku Compose, or straight from source, or using the JSWaku SDK. Whatever it is with Waku that you do, we're here to make sure that you do it good. Thank you.
Welcome, Augusto. Glad you are on your Linux. I am not on my Linux. Sometimes I am. All right, let's take a look at this chart. There's supposed to be. I had a way to look at it, or I had set up a way to actually view them in cursor. So for those who don't know, Mermaid it's a whole language, kind of like UML, but not quite. In fact, you can have UML in Mermaid, because I believe UML is just a standard. I don't remember the file extension. If I do this, type in Mermaid, and then crap. You know what? I think it's, yeah, look at this. So there's an error. You see what I mean by how it's a language? It'll programmatically verify certain things about your chart. I mean, sorry, not about the chart. It'll programmatically verify the chart that the LLM made. Unlike if you had used if I had told it to make me an SVG. It's structured output that can be programmatically verified.
So first you asked for a Frugenstein style markdown.
Is that all Caston?
That's right. Then you asked it to create charts from the results of that first query in the mermaid
Not
style.
just create a chart, but to like go through the code again, to go through index.html, and this time get a little one level below the architecture and focus on the how the data types transform between the architectural components, and to refer to and update the knowledge base as it does that, and yes, to also
Mm,
produce all of this like towards the goal of producing this
got it.
visual chart.
Got it. Thank you.
Oh boy.
It's a lot of
Okay, so I
lines.
can't. Yeah, I can't quite zoom into it. I don't know how visible it is. I can't even read it on my screen. It's the only annoying part is sometimes it's better to just handle the chart separately. Uh, let me. Here's what I'll do.
You might be able to copy the image and drag it into a tab in
It's not an
your.
image. That's the
Oh,
thing.
it's right. It's a
It's a
generated.
render.
Generated. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, at least yeah, I think so. I forget what it renders as exactly. It might be.
SVG, I think.
It probably is. Makes yeah, SVG makes the most sense. No problemo. Just let's try it in a separate one. Okay, it's exactly. Oh no. Look, there we go. It's a little bigger. If we widen it, there. That's not ideal, but it's better, right?
You just call out whatever is the thing there, because but at least the structure is more visible.
Sure. So in the top right corner, we have a UI file image, which presumably is an image that was uploaded via the HTML5, standard image uploader. It reads it as data URL. Is that interesting? I wonder if that means it like base encodes it. I'll take a look at that later and see. Now already I know, like, okay, I know something to take a look at, and like a question in mind as I'm looking at it. Is this encoding the entire image, or is it just converting it to a URL? So we will discover all that. Add image to board. Whoops. Add image to board constructed. And then there's a UI post model. There's two places that it claims UI file image, two functions that can be used in the file reader and when creating a torrent. Yeah, this doesn't seem accurate. So that's the trouble with the visual stuff, is you have to kind of review it because it doesn't have a visual sense, which is a long story. But yeah, so I think this is, even if this chart itself isn't immediately useful, I think I've learned enough where I don't need to keep making charts. And we still got updates to the knowledge base out of it, and that was almost more of the purpose, which is for this session of the LLM to progressively gain like more and more context about the repository, and hopefully it has. Let me see if I can get the exact diff that it made before. This is so
Yeah,
zoom
Augusto
in.
comments that due to the maximum resolution of the stream, image quality will be low no matter what. Thanks for the call out there, Augusto. I'll fix that for.
Yeah, audio-visual challenges, folks. Okay. So now I can look at this index.html file and have a way more prepared understanding of what to expect and what I can like safely ignore. This is how we're interfacing with WebTorrent. Protobuf is how we're encoding our data for, at least for Waku. I wonder if we'll use it for WebTorrent as well. So I'm pretty familiar with Waku because, as Chair mentioned, I am one of the developers at JS Waku, but I'm not as familiar with WebTorrent. So I'm gonna have it focus on that, focus on the WebTorrent explanation. So now that we have all this knowledge, which, like I said, this knowledge base isn't even so much for me, it's for me to have some context to provide to the LLM, because it can read it much faster than I can. It's more useful for the LLM than it is to me, and then thus hopefully it makes the LLM more useful to me in help me understand the steps, or help me understand the process in the code that, here, help me understand every step in the system that takes an image and uploads it via WebTorrent, then explain the symmetric process of downloading images. And that should be sufficient. While it's doing that, I'm going to have an other agent just run and build a repository. Or build and run, but I'm sure it'll know. It asks me here if it wants to annotate these steps in the knowledge base. Sure, that sounds useful. And while it does that, I'll review what it tells me. So first, user picks or drops image. So let's find that actual line. Excuse me. Dot add. What? No? Is that not what it is? Yeah, there it is. Oops. Okay, you probably can't see it, but it managed to run the app in Brave. So the other agent that I had opened to to run and build it, was able to successfully do it. All right, so okay, it's just a basic IO from the browser for a file. Pick anything, and then it's this add image to board function. Right, so I'm too lazy to read all this JavaScript and markup. As much as I appreciate the single index .html.
Well, you're overreading one file of
Well,
JavaScript?
no,
Okay,
it's
yeah.
not just that that is one file. It's like a particularly obnoxious function.
Got it. Does my audio sound okay as I speak in the mic right now?
Sounds good to me.
Great, thank you.
So just give me a quick breakdown.
So specifically, you're asking this function that's way too.
I'm so like, to me, the point of vibe coding is you should strive to be extremely lazy. Like, you should strive to be as lazy as possible. If there's even a hint that you don't want to do something, just like let the AI do it and see what happens.
Could we
At
call
least
that a
when you're
general axiom?
no. Contextualized to
Yeah.
this sort of like exploratory, purposefully playing the instrument kind of approach, right? Like, folks, we're live, we're on air, right? This is a show. This isn't how I normally work. I can't recreate how I normally work or how I normally vibe code, because I don't always just vibe code, and I don't always, just code. It's a beautiful blend of everything, but I like to I enjoy these sessions because I personally get to use this tool in a more, exploratory, demonstrative way, and hopefully I get to inspire others to not only approach them, you know, approach them with like this vibe, so to speak, and yeah, and learn more about the tech that we're working with, at least tangentially. So, sorry, does that answer the question?
Yeah, I meant more for like general axiom for vibe coding specifically, not in overall approach. But I appreciate the further perspective and clarification.
Yeah, and I guess like that general axiom works. I think it works a lot better outside of the software development context. I guess the smallest side, I encourage people, you go through your day-to-day life and you think of something that you really don't want to do, but have to or would benefit from doing, just ask yourself, can I make the AI do this? And maybe you can, maybe you won't, but maybe just trying to do that will get you to finally tackle that or handle that or whatever it is. It's a good way to just get the gears turning. The same way Steve Jobs, I mean, said the computer is the bicycle for the mind. Well, I think the LLM is as well, but in a different sort of way. So, what does this function do? It creates a post element, assigns the post ID to the current post counter. Okay. I see. So it builds the UI element for the post. It builds that classic 4chan style box picture text metadata, and a hidden magnet field. Ooh, interesting. So this is where the web torrent comes into play. So that's clever. So each magnet URL, which for those who aren't familiar, it's like all you can use one of these URLs, which they're small enough to be encoded, uh, like a regular link, and that's sufficient for that link itself is sufficient for a torrent client to get the rest of the metadata necessary to actually download the torrent. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that's how magnet links work. And by and this is clever in that like it encodes it into uh, the markup. Though I don't know if that's anyways. Yeah, I'll see. I'll be interested to see. In fact, while I'm reading it, I'll have it give me a deeper explanation of how this app leverages a hidden magnet field in the markup. Sorry, I think I was saying markdown. It's technically markup here. I'll just say hidden magnet field in the yeah, I'll just say markup. So okay, so notice the pattern there. I was reviewing the output that it gave me. While I was reviewing the output, the agent wasn't doing anything, identified a question, quickly wrote it up, and like went back to reading it. Little tricks and habits like that can theoretically increase your productivity, but to me it's almost like more half of it is just like being more engaged with the information that I'm working with. Okay, so hides the empty state, appends the post to the image wall, records state, data timestamp for ordering if a file is present, kicks off seeding via create torrent. Nice. So when you upload the file, you're effectively becoming the first seeder of a new torrent, and the torrent just lets you download the picture that you uploaded. And then other clients they'll be quote unquote leechers until they downloaded the full image, and then they'll also be seeding it. So they'll have the packets necessary for other users of the image board to get get all the images. Basically, that's my guess. I mean, it's how torrents work in general, but I guess this is how it works here.
This is how we do it.
Increments post counter. Oh, look at that. There's links into the knowledge base. I don't know if that was the correct link. Anyways, increments post counter and refreshes the posted image count label. Okay, then for the magnet fields, the magnet field is pre-rendered but hidden until the torrent is ready. Interesting. Once seeding completes, the app populates and reveals it. The seeding callback sets the magnet URI and toggles visibility. Also adds a title to hint the copy behavior. Okay. I see. So every post that we make is a message that is sent over Waku, but it never has the actual image. It just has that magnet link. So not only does it not have the image, but I believe it doesn't have the torrent because the torrent is derived from the magnet link. In fact, let me say, is it fair to say that the torrent is derived from the magnet link, or is the entire torrent encoded in the link? And hopefully it answers it. Rather, hopefully it answers it correctly. It's probably going to answer. So this was... Right, so instead of uploading the images to Waku, which, as I mentioned earlier, is not how you want to use Waku, it's uploading the images as a torrent and then appending the metadata to fetch that image to the Waku message. So this is very similar to, I mean, technically we could have also used IPFS, but I mean, for this case, like, this is just a SHIT posting board, so you don't really I don't think the stakes are necessarily that high, but we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, so if you've, for those who are familiar with like how a lot of like the NFT smart contracts work, it's rarely, worst case is they straight up like it's a URL to Amazon, to an Amazon server somewhere that's hosting the image that you quote unquote own forever. Better when it's an IPFS hash, which which is the metadata you can then use. It's not quite metadata, but it's the data that you can use to get the file associated with the NFT off of IPFS. I guess if you really wanted to, you could have NFTs that use a torrent magnet URI as the metadata, as the instructions to get the actual data associated with the NFT. In fact, I'm curious if anyone has tried something like that. I'm sure they have, but anyways. Yeah, so in both the Solidity contexts or general smart contract context, and both in the peer-to-peer messaging context, we use a similar strategy in place of file storage, you could say. And hopefully soon we'll get this working with codecs as well for true decentralized storage.
You better believe it.
Interesting. So I'm not sure what's the purpose of copying the link, but we'll see. Short answer, the torrent is derived from the magnet link, not contained in it. Why? A magnet URI typically carries it's the contents identifier, optional display name, trackers, so all sorts of protocol data. Right, so it does not embed the full .torrent metadata, which has all sorts of other stuff. Like it lets you know that okay, you should expect there will be 23 different files in this torrent, and they'll be of this type, and at some point, I don't know exactly how it derives a hash for all the torrent data, but it contains the instructions for how to also validate that like you're getting the right data from your peers. So clients use the info hash to find peers via trackers /GHT. Interesting. So Frank has effectively replaced trackers with, well, potentially is replaced. Well, let's ask. But yeah. So you, when it comes to torrents, you get the torrent file on its own will have the instructions for how your torrent client can even find other people who have the same torrent. And usually it's done through trackers or a distributed hash table. So trackers are the most accessible, popular way that people use torrents. The Pirate Bay is the most prominent example of torrent tracker. And then once again, I'm not extremely familiar with the details of torrents. I'm guessing and trackers. I'm guessing you have like what I'm fuzzy about is the exact relationship between the distributed hash table and the trackers. But I guess what I'm getting at is that so it's still peer to peer, but you have like you know the Pirate Bay still has a domain, so that's like and that's the main way that it advertises and gets people kind of like the necessary information they need to participate in the torrents that it hosts. Um, but I guess Waku could theoretically just like replace trackers, which may be an interesting thing to explore. So
Another
yeah,
thing to do, replace with Waku.
yeah. I mean, replace if there's a realistic way to replace torrent trackers, I think that could be non-trivial. Make the Pirate Bay, but it can't go down. So yeah, and then nicely here it tells me how exactly which steps in the code are relevant to all this information. Now I'm curious. Review how the application uses Waku. Is it fair to say that in this case, the Waku network effectively replaces traditional trackers? Think of Waku as replacing an index/feed, how users learn about new content, not the tracker role, how peers find each other for a given info hash. Okay, I think even before scrolling up, I just want to take a guess and see if now I'm like on if this clues enough to put me in the right direction. Um, the web torrent client uses the info hash to reconstruct and maintain a distributed hash table and then like maintain and find and connect with these peers, something like that. WebTorrent in the browser still relies on WebRTC trackers to discover peers and exchange torrent metadata pieces. Right. Okay. So yeah, I guess in this case, a tracker is at the level of the torrent protocol, and it's how clients or nodes or whatever participants, peers that participate in this protocol uh, use to actually like get not just the metadata but the actual pieces of torrents that get reconstructed into a larger file. So I think then it is fair to say that it would kind of replace the Pirate Bay if just like instead of shit posting, your post also like includes is just you're just posting torrents, right? You're just if you're just posting like info about torrents and what they are and like having discussions about them. Interesting. Interesting. Um okay,
Quite.
well, are there any questions? I guess I haven't peeked at the
So far, no, folks. Whether you're watching on YouTube or X, use the chat if you have any questions about anything Arseni might be covering.
or use
But
the
I think
chat
this
to talk some shit. That's fine too.
indeed. Let us know, as Augusto has already, where we might be lacking. Um, and that is in maximum screen resolution or stream resolution. I think what you just laid out might be a significant idea, perhaps, to worth exploring in a following. Worth exploring. Period.
It's also identified one of the missing features, which is that it doesn't use store or end-to-end reliability, and some messages can be missed if offline. All right, well, let's see if we have time to set that up. Um, based on so I copy and pasted that problem that I identified or that missing feature, and I'm going to ask it based on your understanding of the code. Sorry, not the code, the architecture so far. Create a plan to implement this feature. Do, 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 do. While we wait, I can do an unplugged synthesizer performance. It'll mostly sound like
I believe that would be a drum solo.
yeah. They do say the piano's a percussive instrument, right? So I guess the unplugged synthesizer is just a bunch of drums waiting to be hit. A bunch of little drums. Oh, I scrolled up too far. My bad. Oh, weird. No, I didn't scroll up too far. I don't know why it added this here. Yeah, so backfill missed messages when clients come online. Okay, so for those not familiar, the problem it identified is that when we have a Waku filter subscription, you're only going to get the messages that you receive from the moment you start the subscription onwards. A Waku filter subscription on its own doesn't provide any kind of guarantee. So if you don't get any messages that came before you started the subscription, and if you go offline for whatever reason, or perchance because of network conditions, a certain message doesn't reach you for that topic, uh, then you're not going to see it. This is where Waku Store comes in, which allows you to do a query for either a historical query for a range of messages that fit a specific criteria, usually like just messages for a time range and a content topic, or you can use it to query for specific message hashes. So if you know I missed a message that's supposed to be on this topic and it has this message hash, you can use the store protocol to retrieve that message. And I'm guessing that's basically uh, what it's going to recommend, but we'll see. Improve delivery by retrying until at least one peer acknowledges receipt. Okay, so yeah, so that has to do with the light push protocol. So with the light push protocol, if you're a light client, you're not directly participating in gossip sub with the gossip sub relay, so to say. You you construct your message, you send it to a peer, and that peer should be able to ensure that a that the message is considered sent per the standards of that gossip sub network. So basically, you're a light client, you send a light push request to a full node. The full node makes sure that it gets pushed, that enough other peers also get that message, and then it'll tell you either yes, like I made sure your message is likely, been very likely been being propagated through the network, or no, like I'm not going to do this for you, or no, I failed to um, handle this message for whatever reason. And if you really want to improve the likelihood that your message gets propagated as a light client, you will do this with multiple peers. So I believe our default for light push in JS Waku, it's 2 or 3. But yeah, I'm guessing that's what this is referring to, but we'll see. So Waku store, query historical messages on startup and on reconnect. Right. So that's what I was talking about. If you know that, okay, I'm coming online for the first time, but I want, the last hour of messages. I want the last however many posts that I can load on my feed. Then you get the query from store. And at the same time is when you start the subscription. So it's probably you start the subscription, make sure that it's working, and then do a historical query from like maybe a little bit after you started the subscription, just to be safe, to however much, I mean, depending on the application, whatever makes sense, whether it's 24 hours or 1 hour or whatever. I'm not. Yeah, once again, I'm not sure what it means by acknowledgments here.
Oh, we
I
got a
guess
hot
it.
communication here from Frank live on the timeline in real time here. Seconds
Oh,
ago, he says, use my new reliable channels.
okay, yeah. So that's probably what this means. It means that this line probably means that we're not using scalable data sync here. What Frank is referring to with reliable channels, and why the agent earlier was mentioned E2E reliability, is because end-to-end reliability is one of the things we work towards in the Waku protocol. And one of the ways we do it is through something called the scalable data sync. And let me go through the rest of this message before I return to that. Right. So it's basically, I think it's basically telling me to implement. I think it's telling me to implement the protocol, but it doesn't fully know what it is. It's telling me to implement this protocol that the current version isn't using. Okay, so for now, I'm gonna tell it to just focus on this part. So it's given me quite a lot of different like recommendations, and it's too many. I don't like giving the LLM too much to do. Recently had a very interesting call with someone who swears by only ever doing things one shot, which is an interesting philosophy as well. But me, I at least don't want to do too many things in each individual message, and sometimes even within like a context window. So yeah, I think just this is fine. Is just implementing that when we load, check for old events or check for old posts and retrieve them. And then a periodic backfill as a safety net. Soon, dear viewers, you will not have to do this because this will be provided for you as part of the SDK. Specifically, like periodic backfills and historical queries. I believe. Don't quote me at that. I forget if it's going to be at the SDK level or the API level. Wow, this is embarrassing how many tries it's taking me to copy this. There you go. And that's not even what I wanted. Or is it? Yeah, copied too much. Here we go. Ah, yikes. Oh my gosh. For context, I'm restricted to just this cursor instance for just to make streaming easier. I'm really struggling with basic tasks here. There we go. Oh, that reminds me of another thing I've been meaning to practice, which is using voice input more. This to me is another overlooked and underrated feature of LLMs is their ability to one, and this is not just LLMs, this is AI in general, one, the ability to take, an audio recording and turn it into a transcript and have it be very, very accurate or relatively accurate, at least way more accurate than they used to be. And then turn that transcript and extract the information that you want out of it, or to interpret it however. Like it's one thing to just use voice input to speak your prompt and be confident that the LLM can effectively turn it into the discrete actions that you want. But it's another thing when it's also good for brainstorming or exploring or having conversations with another person or coworker or collaborator or whatever, that where you don't want to take notes, you just want to both be in the moment and talking, and you do it and then you get the transcript and then you can refer back to it and get the exact things you want. You can quickly filter out all the extra noises and ums and whatever that fill up a real conversation, while still leveraging the fact that conversation is our most natural form of communication, the least mediated, so to speak, or one of the least mediated. Okay, so it added a section to the knowledge base. I'm just gonna say just proceed with the backfill plan. Sometimes it does this where I guess sometimes it'll on its own decide, okay, I'm just going to plan first and then wait for the next prompt to execute. Or also, I suspect maybe Cursor has changed how their agent works to try and make it so that their subscribers and users are less wasteful of credits, so to speak. It kind of reminds me of Netflix adding the "Are you still watching?" feature. I bet you there's a similar motivation there. Folks, these credits aren't free. Even if you're not paying for them, someone's paying for them. And I had a suspicion before uh, before the recent Claude announcement where they basically tightened the screws on credit usage. I had a suspicion that this is going to start happening. In that
Freedom
over
ain't free.
time. Sorry?
Freedom ain't free.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, also, like, it'll be interesting to see, like, people who've kind of gone all in and got, like, crazy setup subscriptions and all that, and, optimize their workflow based on the assumption that, like, these credits are going to be, like, highly available. It's one thing if you set up your own hardware, which I think what a lot of smart people are doing, but it's another thing if you're, like, purely relying on these hosted models. Okay, I added Waku store backfill to index HTML. New state constants, helper functions. All right, do we YOLO it and just try it, or do we take a look? I say
one shot.
Yeah, let's just. Well, I can try it without showing you. So, and then if it only just share it if it works. Anyways, I told it to run it. You won't be able to see the window, but in either way, let's go see the changes that it made. So there's already this last sync timestamp key. Unless it was added. It's potentially added, actually. Okay, it was added. Sync timestamp. Okay. If it doesn't exist, or no, if it does exist, convert it to number. Gosh, beautiful JavaScript. And then
something math and JavaScript.
Yeah. Collect scene post IDs, backfill from store. This is the juicy part right here. This backfill from store. Waku client. Waku client not store. Check if it's been initialized. Get that last timestamp, which I guess is the last time this query was done. The query is for the content topic. This is the start time. I guess the end time should default to now. Scene post IDs. Interesting. What? I have no idea why it's doing that. But let's see here. This is probably because we're not using TypeScript, but it should be fine. Let me read real quick what it mentioned, just so I know, have some more context. No, right, it didn't give me context. Or did it? Nope, it did not.
Oh, God.
Okay, so what's happening here is it creates the query mostly based on the content topic that we're using and the last time it's synced, which gets stored in local storage each time this is run. With store, we use something called a query generator, which makes use of async generators in TypeScript. Well, I guess they have them in JavaScript too. To process, got to be careful here. To asynchronously process a stream of promises, something like that. Anyways, it allows you to work with like promises in a slightly different manner than usual. Obviously, I don't use the JavaScript's async generators that often, though they are explicitly used in the store here. And so query will give you a bunch of messages. These are Waku messages. You iterate through, every query gives you, or every page of the query gives you some one or more, or zero or more in this case, Waku messages. Iterate through the messages. If it doesn't have a payload, you can skip it because, well, there's no payload. There's nothing for the application to use. We decode the message, which I'm assuming is using, it's using protobufs, protocol buffer. We get the decoded message. If it fails, then just go to the next one. You get the post ID from it. Then you look at your seen post IDs. And if you've already seen it, you continue. You skip it if it's been marked as seen, or if it's present in the document, I guess. You add the received image to board. I'll check what that function does in a second, but I'm guessing it takes the magnet URI from and some other metadata from the decoded message and uses it to, oh no, that's here. The download torrent is here. Then, oh yeah, I think this is the part where it like adds the UI element and sets the magnet URI as hidden, because I'm guessing then appending that URI to the DOM element is how, after we seed the torrent or download the torrent in this case, how the application knows where to actually render it in the web app. That's my guess. So let's say you do a store query, you get a bunch of messages, you go through all those messages, and then you download every single torrent associated with that message to get the image. And this is done sort of asynchronously, meaning like after we get the Waku message, you could theoretically have the post appear, and then for the image, until the torrent is done, it'll just be, like a loading screen or whatever. And then this other else if statement does effectively the same thing, but instead of using the generator interface, it just uses the regular query interface. Okay, let's see. It's running without errors. Okay, it'd be really nice if I could show you all, but I'm going to do a quick test off screen just to see if I can even get an image to be posted. Oh, I see. So Interesting. All right, let me quickly stop sharing my screen and switch to the browser.
Bear with us, folks, as the browser is summoned. This is the Waku Vibe Coding stream. We are streaming very regularly to you on a weekly basis. Arseni is working on a meme board.
How's it looking?
It looks delicious.
You can see it. You can see I have 2 tabs
Indeed.
open. Okay.
Yeah. B. B,
All right.
B, B.
Just before I had done a post of an image, and it said it was posted. Oh, I have my logs filtered. No duh. Here we go. So there was an error. But just to show you, so this is what I was talking about earlier. So this image I uploaded from a computer, and because I'm the one seeding the torrent, I already have the image, and then here is the magnet link, and it's a seeding 1 peer, 1.52 megabyte. It's uploaded. Now let me open a new window and load the same one. And now you see when I refresh it, or when I'm in a new window, that image isn't showing up. And that's because the backfill, well, one before wasn't there, and now it's not working. So I'm going to just copy this error message. Probably up to here. And you couldn't see it, but I just literally just copied the message, pasted it into my conversation, and it knows that it's an error message and that presumably I want it to be fixed. Okay, but it seems the posting itself works. So you have here this log, sending magnet via Waku. So this is the exact data structure, in fact, the exact message that I'm sending over Waku. It's just the file name, size, the magnet link, a post ID, and a timestamp.
The 10-minute warning for you, sir. I do have a hard out coming up, but I'll give you enough time.
Sweet. Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's enough time to get this feature working, but
So you're able to post, but in a new window, you cannot see said post yet.
well, no, the main thing is that, okay, so hopefully I can demonstrate what I was talking about earlier with the filter subscriptions. So right now, store isn't working, it's just filter. Both of these do have an active subscription. I'm hoping. We're seeing errors, but it doesn't mean we don't necessarily have a connection. So while both of these nodes both have a filter subscription, then theoretically, me doing this here should show the message in the other node, but without the image, because the image isn't what's transmitted over Waku. And I guess this is partially here because this demonstrates that they're separate. So because this, I uploaded it here, I'm seeding the torrent, I sent it over Waku, and I guess eventually it did get the torrent. But now if I open a third one, let's see if it comes up after connecting. I'm guessing it won't, right? And then I go here, choose file. What's this? Schizo charts, okay. Post already exists one. Okay, so this is another end-to-end reliability thing, but that's okay. Let's upload it again. There we go. So now, right. So as soon as it receives it, it also starts to download. So I don't actually have to click it. It's running WebTorrent in the background, and after some time, so first it got the message over Waku, and then after it got the magnet over Waku, it used WebTorrent to fully download all pieces of this image file using WebRTC. So let me check on the agent real quick. I was going to tell it to build again. How are we on time?
5 or 6 minutes.
Can't even see what I'm uploading here. Here, I'll upload my Twitter
Oh,
avatar.
that's a gamble.
What? Yeah, I mean, I can. I know it's all mostly safe. Let's see if this third one gets propagated. Oh, post already exists one. No, that was from before. Or maybe it's not from before. Okay, so that's a different bug. These two just tabs opened again because it re-hosted the file. So now let's see. It re-hosted the app. I mean, we're still getting the errors with the backfill. No peers available to query. Okay, so this means that the app is set such that when we start the Waku node, it waits for a light push peer and probably waits for a filter peer, but it doesn't wait for a store peer. So in the Waku network, different nodes can choose to run different protocols. You don't have to support every single protocol. And in essence, a light node is just, I mean, besides being like a node that runs in a browser, is a node that doesn't typically like will only use light push and filter. So it's light because it doesn't have as many protocols. It doesn't mean it's like it's not the same as like a client server relationship. So this probably means we just need to tell it to wait for a store peer as well. So when you use JS Waku, you can say, hey, don't proceed until my node has at least one connection to a peer that supports this protocol and one connection to a peer that supports this protocol, then maybe two connections for peers that support this protocol, and either like don't let the application finish loading till we have that, or if there's a timeout, or do this instead. It's an important part of working with Waku that, once again, I believe we will be abstracting over, so developers won't have to worry about it if they don't need to. But it will always be accessible for so-called power users.
The powerful.
There. I wonder if that's sufficient. I wonder if I've gave it sufficient context before so that it should know uh, to look for the wait for store peer mechanism. Rather, I wonder if I've given it sufficient context to know. Oh, sorry, I forgot. I'm not sharing that screen. That I don't. I basically asked it to look at the code that waits for peers and make sure it's also waiting for a peer that has store protocol. The rest of it should still work, hopefully. Yeah. Any last minute questions from the audience? From
This is your
my
time to get
gracious
in, folks.
host?
No, I think this was more or less successful, even with our store node connection issue here.
Hey, I mean, knowing what's wrong and what to work on is a big part of the problem sometimes, right?
Indeed. What is your next step on this specifically?
Um, we'll see if we can get this basic store the store functionality working. If that does, then I wonder if we can just publish this.
Ship it.
Yeah, and then see if people break it. See how
Okay.
people break it. See if it breaks the network. You know, that's what it's all about, right?
That's exciting.
How people abuse, and people will, if if a lot of people use it, someone will abuse it. So that's something else to think about. But that's where we start getting beyond the tech to some extent.
And of course, if we don't use it, we will lose it.
That too.
Well, folks, this has been the Waku Vibe Code stream with Arseni. Follow Arseni on X. Follow Waku underscore ORG on X and YouTube. There's a dash. Waku dash ORG. Check out the docs and everything else community related and technical and otherwise at waku.org. Thank you very much, Arseni. If you have any questions, join the Discord or post in the VAC forum or the Logos forum. You can find links to those at waku.org. Or just at us directly. We're not hard to find. Until next time, I am Chaired. That's Arseni over there. And we will see you soon once again for another Vibe Code stream.
Until next time, folks.
Mahalo.
Goodbye.